it's starting to tape, so I just, thank you very much for coming. This
No problem.
Shawn Thompson from Central Street Pharmacy here in Georgetown. And, we talked about planning it because this was our week with a real focus on health education and the importance of being able to manage medications and to plan our medications appropriately. It makes a big difference in terms of how we feel and how we manage, the different challenges that we're living with. So, they were good enough to say, absolutely, we'll come in and join you. So, there's some things that, that certainly Shawn will go over. One of the things that we were just talking about is the opportunity for deliveries, home deliveries is a big part of their business, which is a great opportunity for the towns around.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Exactly. So, I'm
Excellent.
going to turn right to you. I'll
All right.
sit down and
So as she said, my name's Shawn. So I do own the pharmacy here in Georgetown. So there's two of us. We own a pharmacy in Georgetown. We have one in Winchester. That one's been around a little bit longer. Then we have one out in Athol, which is way out down Route 2. We're opening, the Board of Pharmacies visiting our Waltham location today. So we'll be opening in Waltham. And then we're also opening a new one in Gardner. We had bought a building out there in Gardner. Basically, the reason we're opening in Central Mass is that's where I used to run a chain of pharmacies. So there were a handful of them and they sold them. So we just basically went right across the street or right in the same location and reopened it. So same thing we're doing down in Waltham. There was a big pharmacy that sold out and we leased the same spot, renovated it, and now we'll be opening probably next week.
You're on Central Street.
We're in Central Street,
Okay,
yeah.
but what is like the name of
The name is Central Street Pharmacy.
Okay.
Because if you guys remember, there used to be a pharmacy there called Georgetown Drug.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So when we went in with a completely different name because otherwise it can cause insurance issues
Sure.
and they think you're part of the same pharmacy, it's completely different. I think Joe had sold about 3 years before we opened. And we only opened in this space because I live in Groveland. So for me, it's like, let me open one right down the street. And it just worked out well for us.
But you own, they're different ones, so
So-
they're not all Central Street.
Correct.
How they,
Yeah, so that's what we were discussing when I first came in. There's no brand recognition because when we opened our first store, we never dreamed of opening a second, never mind a third, fourth, fifth. Now we're looking going, well, we're probably gonna open 4 or 5 more.
yeah.
So, but it's, now the only way to get the recognition is to go back and change your names or change your doing business as. And then it causes questions within the town. Did that store sell again? Especially in Athol where we just opened back up. Somebody had sold and it's like, do we really want to change the name and confuse people, basically? So unfortunately, we don't have the brand recognition. Whenever we go out with our marketing materials now, we have folders. It has the list of all our stores on it and it's fine. We don't really need the recognition, to be honest with you. There's some very large chains in the state that sold to CVS. Eaton Apothecary, they had everybody knew who they were. They had 20-something locations, but now they're owned by CVS, so it doesn't matter. So we did go like Winchester's Winchester Pharmacy. When we opened in Athol, we went Athol Pharmacy.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to have, they like to know you're in their town.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but we just didn't go with Georgetown just because it was a pharmacy with that name.
Do you have the automatic refill?
We do. We
system?
can. We
Okay.
can fill out my. So essentially, anything that you get at the chains, we can do. Okay. It's funny. People don't. They see a independent pharmacy and they don't equate it to having the technology or the ability to do things. My Winchester store actually has a robot in it, and we're putting one in this store as well. Just because our business is really picking up. Now the robot that we have, you go into a lot of the CVS's or Walgreens, you might see a robot or you'll see some type of automation. They'll go over and there'll be a wall that'll have, that basically cells and it counts the pills for them and they just go over with the vial.
Yeah.
Everything still has to be checked by a pharmacist, even with our robot, but it makes it a little quicker, but the accuracy for our pharmacists, because the pharmacists just do the checking, so the accuracy is perfect. So they don't have to go back to the shelf and say, oh, my technician missed something. The robot will take care of that for them. So, we should have the robot, and it'll be by year's end anyway. We've already ordered it, so it'll be interesting. When we do, we'll probably market it a little bit. It's funny. Some people like the automation, some people don't. Some people they're afraid that they're replacing people, when you bring in a robot, that, well, you're not gonna hire anybody. But the truth is, these robots need somebody to run them. But what's nice is they don't go to the bathroom, they don't take breaks, they don't go on vacation. They're there, as long as they're working, they're there 24 hours a day. Winchester store actually got so busy, we're there till 1 o'clock in the morning. The doors close at 7, but then from 7 to 1, there's 2 people in the store that are just filling. There's a technician that's filling in the robot, and there's a pharmacist just checking. So that when they come in at, the next morning, everything's all ready to go. So, but just to this store right here, it's open every day. They do deliver every day. We don't charge for the delivery service, and we actually this store delivers all the way to, say, Lowell. This is my furthest account.
Wow.
We service assisted livings, we service group homes. So I have an assisted living in Billerica, I have one in Tewksbury. So we're there every day, probably twice a day. Then we go up to Rockport, Gloucester, they go to Marblehead, which we try to avoid. And then they'll pretty much go down to the Linfield area, depending. The Winchester store will then come up to the Linfield area. And that's kind of what we're trying to do is go from here out to the Greenfield area and make sure we can cover all along the way. Because our big piece is the visiting nurses. All right, that's where we get all our businesses from, visiting nurses. We don't advertise, but this pharmacy in just 3 years has, it's about double or triple the size of an everyday pharmacy. And it's just from the visiting nurses. If you go in there, you would think we don't do any business, because there's not a lot of walk-ins. Everything is delivery. But then if you look behind the counter, you'll see 9 or 10 people back there, so you know that they're busy. The big thing that we do is packaging people's medication. Okay? So I just kind of want to walk you through this. This is,
I think that's great.
yeah, we usually this store will get somewhere around 8 new referrals a week. So the visiting nurses will call us, and they'll just say, oh, Joe Smith, he just got out of the hospital, or he doesn't have a car, or he's having trouble managing his pills. Can you talk to him? So what happens is we then call them and send somebody out to the house to go over the program. Now there's no obligation to the visit. When we go there, we don't pressure them. If they don't want to do it, we just move on, because we do have so many new people being referred to us. But we felt it was important, instead of talking to them over the phone. You'll see a lot of pharmacies advertise on TV. There's some big ones. One that was bought by Amazon a few months ago for $1 billion. There's another one out of Southern Mass, and they're mail order. So they do similar things, but through the mail is completely different. We like to go into the house. It gives us a better idea of what's going on. If we go into the house and there's 10 inhalers sitting in the corner, we know that you're not using your inhaler, and we shouldn't be automatically filling it and sending it to you. If you have COPD, we also know we should notify the doctor that, hey, they're not using their inhaler. It actually helps us close the loop in healthcare, because the doctor doesn't get to go to your house. So, we send, typically, we do have a pharmacist that goes out at least 1 day a week out of this store. Other than that, we have a med tech that goes out, and the pharmacist just oversees what she does. But some of the things we look for when we go to the house is, we'll check we go through all the pill bottles. We'll check expiration dates, especially on like nitros. A lot of people will get a nitro, they'll never use it. They'll keep it in their pocket, but it expired 3 years ago. So we kind of look at different things like that when we go out to the house. But again, we go out to the house, no obligation to anything else. We just kind of explain how the program works. If they're interested, we gather a little bit of information, and then from the individual, and then we go back and we call their pharmacy and transfer their meds over. We call the doctor, we go over the meds with the doctor, because 9 times out of 10 when we go to the house, they're not taking what the doctor thinks they're taking, or they're taking other things that the doctor doesn't know about. And a good example of that is I had a patient in Linfield a few years ago that had cancer and was in remission. Well, when they were actively going to the doctors for their cancer, the doctor suggested taking an iron supplement. So the patient had just continued taking that iron supplement, but then started taking a thyroid pill at the same time. So what happens is the iron will bind to the thyroid pill, and it will go right out of the body without the patient getting the effect of the thyroid pill. So the doctor just started increasing that thyroid pill, thinking that it just wasn't helping, but didn't know that they were taking something else at the same time. So during our visit, we go over all the meds, and the patient pulls out their iron. So we go back to the doctor, it's now a simple fix. So when we packaged up his pills, we put his iron later in the day. And that solved the issue. So that's why the home visit is very important. If you have a PRN medication, an as-needed medication, we won't put it in here, but it's nice to see if somebody can handle it in a pill bottle. A lot of our clients can't. They need us to package it up for them. So again, that's why we like to go out. We don't charge for the visit. If you decide you don't want to do it, it's perfectly fine. We just put your little file we have for you, we scan it in the computer and shred it. So if you ever decide down the road you want to do it, at least we have a little information on you. But just to show you briefly how this works, so this right here is, we refer to it as a medication card. This is a 1-week supply. You can see the pills from the front. The first question people ask is how many pills can it hold? Depending on the size, I know of one particular gentleman that takes 21 pills in the morning, 16, and then he has 5 gabapentin. The 16 will fit in there, and then we move his 5 gabapentin to the next, slot. So it does, depending on the size of your pills, it does hold a number of pills. So this is a 1-week supply. So when we deliver 4 of them. So you have a 28-day supply, okay? It's all color-coded, and what I explain to people when I go to their house is, it does have your name, it has the month, the day of the week, it has the time to take the pills, it lists what's in there.
Wow.
But the easiest thing I explain to people is think of it this way. You wake up in the morning and the sun's out, it's yellow. You start right here. You go to bed at night, there's a blue moon. You just end there. It's just left to right.
Yeah, excellent.
All right? So if you take pills 4 times a day, your morning pills would be here, like your lunchtime, your dinner time, your bedtime. Okay? Most people that we deal with only take pills twice a day. And it's usually morning and night. Okay? So what we do is if you decided to move forward with the program, like I said, we gather a little information, then we kind of go work with your doctors, make all the transfers. It's taken around a week to 10 days to get someone set up, depending on their doctors. So what we do is, when we're out there, we leave behind some information, and we always tell people, if you're running out of anything, before you hear from us, just give us a call. And let's say you're running out of, lisinopril. What we would do is we would send down a pill bottle with maybe a week's supply in there, because we don't want you to go back to Walgreens or CVS and fill it, and now we have a 90-day supply, because then we can't bill it. So what we'll do is we'll just send it out to you. We won't charge you for it, and it'll just hold you over till we get there. Okay? What we do is once we have everything, we call you and schedule a delivery. The first delivery is done by the staff member. Okay? It's either our pharmacist or our med tech. They're going to come out and they're going to go over this one more time with you. Okay? We don't just drop it off and now you're on your own. All right? The first delivery, we like to come back out. Some people, it's easier for them to relate to this if their name's on it. They can see their pills in there. The dates are accurate. So we like to go over one more time. It's usually only 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Making sure you remember how it works, making sure you know how to open it, letting you know what happens if you drop your pills, if you lose them. We just kind of go over that one more time, okay? And then we always say the first couple of days is usually the most stressful for people because it's different, all right? So we'll just tell you if you run into any trouble, call us. We'll send somebody back out, we'll run over it again, because after a couple of days, everything's just smooth sailing from there, all right? Now what we do is a lot of our clients have changes, all right? Some of our clients seem to go to the doctors 2 or 3 times a week. So what we do is we deliver these out to you. Let's say I drop it off today and tomorrow there's a change, all right? What we do is once we get it, we see that it's different. Now you have 4 of these cards, right? You have a whole month supply, we just dropped it off. Mm-hmm. What we'll do is, once the change comes over, we'll do a new card. Mm-hmm. It might have just 1 day of pills, it might have 2 days of pills. The driver's gonna come out to your house and he'll have a cover sheet that'll say, increase lisinopril, added omeprazole, pull back 4 cards. So the driver's going to say, okay, I need your 4 cards. He's going to give you one, he or she, that'll have 2 days in it to hold you over, because what he's going to do is he's going to take all those pills back to the pharmacy. The pharmacist will rip open all your cards. She'll adjust it, make the changes, reseal it, and the next day they'll send it back out to you. But in the meantime, we're going to give you a couple of days worth of pills, so with the change in it. So you start that new pill that day that the doctor sends it to us. All right? So that way, they're basically, think of it this way, we're managing your pill box. You have a pill box at home, we're managing it for you. We're making the changes, we're pulling out the stuff they don't want you on. What we see a lot of times during our house visits is you'll go to the doctors and the doctor will say, okay, stop taking your atorvastatin. We're going to put you on pravastatin. But what do you do with that atorvastatin? You just slide it to the other side of the table, right? You don't get rid of it, it's still sitting in your house. A lot of times we'll go to these house visits and people are taking both of them.
Oh.
Because they might have 6 refills left on that old bottle. Well, after a while they forget and they start taking that bottle too, all right? So with this program, if they make a switch like that, when we come and take this out of the house, we open it up, we throw the atorvastatin away and put in the pravastatin, seal it, and bring it back to you, okay? So you don't have to worry about having your old pills in the house that you're not supposed to be taking. This is only what the doctors want you to take. All right. We can put over-the-counter supplements in here, baby aspirin, fish oil, turmeric. We have some pretty crazy over-the-counters that people are taking. Totally up to you. We can add them. If you have Mass Health, some insurances will cover some over-the-counters. A lot of people don't realize that. They might just be buying baby aspirin when you can actually get it covered by your insurance. So again, it's something we go over during our house visit. All right. If there's no changes on this, let's say your medication stays the same, usually a couple of days before you run out of pills, our driver will come to your door with next month's pills. He or she will have 4 packs. They'll have a med list. Every time we come out, we bring an up-to-date med list for you, which is great if you go to the doctors. You can just bring that with you. And then there'll be 2 signature logs. So you never pay a driver. If you have co-pays, you never pay the driver. All you're going to do is sign that you got your pills, and they'll leave you a copy of that as well. If you do have co-pays, you just get a bill in the mail once a month. It'll itemize everything for you. And then you can either mail a check. If you have a question, you just call the pharmacy, or you can always drop something off too if you live here in town. All right? There's no contracts to sign for this system either. If you decide you don't like it, you just call and tell us, and we just take you off the program. All right? So we do have, we've had people that have done it for 2 or 3 months and decided they just want pill bottles. And then all we do is we'll cycle the pill bottles and we'll deliver, once a month to them. So.
Okay. For this, in other words, for the convenience of something like that, is there a huge difference in the cost of medication from like the regular chain pharmacies?
We don't charge for this at all. We're probably one of the only pharmacies in the state that doesn't charge for that. It's just your normal co-pays. So if your co-payment through your insurance company is $5 for omeprazole, it'll be $5 here. There's no additional fees for this. We don't charge for delivery, we don't mark it up. My business partner and I, when we went into business about 7 years ago, it's a new pharmacy. We need to bring in business. So at that point, we kind of fell into some caseworkers who needed a pharmacy to handle some of their clients because everybody was charging. As I mentioned earlier, Eaton's, I know they charge $25 a person. If you had a husband and wife, it's $50. There's no break. There was another one that sold out in Beverly. They were $14. So everybody charges something. Brooksby Village does something very similar. They charge $60 a month. Now, granted, if you live there, you can probably afford it. But
Yeah, right.
so we don't charge anything. We've had people down in Peabody. I know of one particular woman that went on Coumadin, and she was getting her INR checked every 2 days. So think of us having to go to Peabody every 2 days. She lived in downtown just to change one drug. But that's part of how the program works. The idea is there's people out there that just need a little help with their medication. You know, you don't want to move in with a relative, you can't afford an assisted living. This is one less thing you have to worry about, you know. And it's enabled us to open all these stores. You know, and at this point we have so much business and we have so many referrals that send people to us. You know, if we started charging money today, we'd lose all that business.
Now, is this just a business for you, or are you a pharmacist?
I'm not a pharmacist, no.
Okay, that's
Yep.
what I was wondering.
So I own it, my business partner is a pharmacist. So
Okay.
when we first opened, I have a marketing background. So I used to go out and do all the sales, which is what I'm gonna start doing again. We stopped advertising, stopped marketing, just because the pharmacies were doing so well. But at this point, we wanna open more. So now we're gonna go back out and start, you know, advertising to some. We're actually gonna push into southern New Hampshire as well. That's the next step for this store right here. Because we have a lot of VNAs out of like Newburyport, Lawrence, that have a lot of clients in southern New Hampshire, but we can't service them right now, unless they take delivery in Massachusetts. But, yeah, so it just worked out well. I did the marketing and the deliveries and pretty much everything else, and he ran the bench. Now he doesn't work on the bench really at all. So.
What were the hours in Georgetown?
So this store here, so they're open 9 to 7 Monday through Friday. Weekends, they're shorter hours. They're 9 to 3 on Saturday, 9 to 1 on Sunday. So we went with, most independents are actually closed on Sundays, but because we service so many assisted livings and people need their antibiotics, you know, we're at least open for a few hours. So the deliveries, the drivers are still out later on Sundays, even though we close at 1, they're usually out to like 3, just because there's so many deliveries to make. But yeah, so they are open every day. They are just closed the, you know, like the 5 major holidays. So.
Apologies, I just came in late. Where
Yeah.
are you located in
So,
Georgetown?
so the one in Georgetown is right next to Crosby's. It's in that plaza.
Okay.
We've been there about 3, almost 4 years now.
Oh, okay.
So, it's the same, there had been a pharmacy there for years and years before us. So. What else? What other questions do you guys have?
I know we do, every Sunday morning, we do ours for the week.
That's what a lot of people sit down. So now, do you have many changes? Do you guys
The
handle this?
Coumadin sometimes, depending on
Yeah.
INR,
Yeah,
you know, whether we have to increase or decrease, but, no.
yeah,
I mean, I can tell you a horror story, but, no, because when you say robot,
yeah,
okay, and human error can
Yeah.
happen, and I was telling them that about 6 months ago,
Yes.
the pharmacist, they, for some reason, pulled up my old Coumadin, which
Coumadin.
was 5 milligrams,
Yep.
and I had been on 3 milligrams.
mm-hmm.
And when I took my INR, I was 4.8, which I'm supposed to be between 2 and 3.
Yeah, that's a little bit.
And it was something wrong, and it's my own fault for not checking.
Yeah,
But then we found out what happened. They had pulled an old,
yep,
you know, and so
Yeah,
I had
just-
to, of course, come off of it. But meaning that was human error,
Yeah.
which can happen.
which it does, right. I mean, you know, it should be perfect everywhere you go, but it's not.
Well,
you know.
thank God the INR, sure. We take our own. We have our
Okay, you
own
do it
kit
yourself, yep.
at home, yeah, we do our own
Yep.
INR.
And yeah, what do you do, weekly or?
It depends, like right now, his is being done in 7 days.
Okay,
Mine is, it has to be 2 weeks. We're with Alear.
okay,
And it used to be, I've been on it for a long time. I used to go to the hospital once a month.
yep,
But when you end up testing at home, mandatory, the farthest out you can go is 2 weeks.
yeah,
So that you're using up the stuff.
right,
But if there's a problem, usually the doctor will increase, decrease, and then say, check it next week.
yeah,
Which is, you know, mine now, I'll be doing it 2 weeks, his will be a week.
okay,
But,
Yeah.
and I'm on what they call a no-call list. As long as I'm within range, the doctor's office doesn't call.
nobody calls you, yeah, yeah. It's, Coumadin's a tough one, you know, it definitely is. It's funny though, Eliquis, Xarelto, you know,
Yeah, I don't wanna do those.
yeah, we probably go through 20, 25 bottles a month of Eliquis. You know, it's very popular now.
But some of them, they don't test.
No, they don't, well, no, when you're on those, you don't test.
That's what, I mean,
Yep.
it's my own preference of
Yep.
both of us. I'm not going to take something that I'm not testing for. You know, I mean, how do they know whether they're up or down? I know
Right.
it has to do with food,
Yeah.
stay
what they
away
eat,
from K,
yep.
you know,
Right.
the greens. and
Yeah,
stuff.
no, I'm with you, I'd rather know where I'm at
Yeah, that's.
and find out too late. But yeah, you know what's nice about the robot that we bought that it does is, so essentially the way it works is, this is two different pieces here. You know, you have your plastics and then you have a paper back. So you put the plastic in the robot, and it's basically, you put it in here is where the technician stands, all the controls are here, the pharmacist down the end. And what's nice is, if the robot, it verifies everything by shape, size, color, and markings. So it has 4 or 5 different things that it verifies on. If it can't verify something, what it will do is it'll actually circle it and print out a picture. So then, you know, the technician, before it even gets to the pharmacist, the technician can take the picture and go look at it and see if it's accurate, you know, or if there's a problem with it.
Depending on pharmaceutical, sometimes it can be the same dosage but it's a different color because they're getting it from a different
Well, anything like that.
pharmaceutical.
Yeah, anything like that. See, this robot goes by what they call NDC number. So every bottle, every manufacturer has its own national drug code number. So if you switch the manufacturers, you have to switch out the cell that's in the robot, which can kind of be a hassle because you guys know how often some generics switch. You know, all of a sudden you can't get one.
Yeah.
So yeah, then it's more of a procedure. You got to take out the old cell and put in a new one with the new drug. So, but it's pretty interesting. What's nice is if somebody calls and says, "Hey, I didn't get my Ativan. It wasn't in my pack." We can print out a picture of it, a color picture, circle it, and just bring it out to them and say, "Well, when it left the pharmacy, it was in there." So it's, you know, pretty interesting what they can do these days. But
Now, you can fill later prescriptions, right?
we can, oh yeah, we do pill bottles. This is just more of, you know, it's kind of where medication's going these days, you know. Everybody that gets referred to us, even from just doctors, I mean, Brzezinski's office will call us and say, "Oh, this person needs to be on your packaging program." But yeah, we do pill bottles. We can do them on call-in, you know, just like CVS. You can call them in and we can auto-refill them. We can send you a text message when they're done. I mean, you name it, it can all be done. Send you an email, or you can just come sit down and wait about 5 minutes and they'll get you out the door. Like I said, what's nice about this pharmacy is there's not a lot of walk-ins. So if you bring a script in or you forget to order something, you come in, you can be done and out the door in 5 minutes. The other day I had a friend of mine, their son needed a cream that we didn't have. So I was at soccer practice, and when I found out we didn't have it, so I said, okay, call across the street, see if they have it. You know, we have a nice working relationship with those guys over there. Actually, as a matter of fact, some of my employees are from there. So they did have it. So after soccer, I went to pick it up. I said, all right, I'll go get it, because I felt bad we didn't have it. It's a good friend of mine. So I went to pick it up. Now, they had sent it over about 30 minutes before I got there, and it was for a cream. Literally, you have the label, you put the label on the box, and you give it to them. I waited almost 30 more minutes when I got there. And, you know, and granted, everybody's busy, you know, but what we do is when somebody comes in, we'll stop what we're doing, handle that customer, get them out the door, and then go back to it, you know. Typically, you go to a chain and there's a whole, like, you know, train of scripts that are in baskets ready to be checked. And it doesn't matter if the person that's 15th in the, you know, in the row is here, they're going in order. So, but we try to get you out the door. But most people, like I said, just call their scripts and we deliver them. So,
Very interesting.
yeah. Any other questions?
No, it's something wonderful for people who aren't sure of themselves or, you
Well,
know, stuff
and that's
like
what
that, especially.
I say it to people all the time. It's not for everybody. No, not everybody needs it today, but most people don't even know what's out there. You know, they don't know when all of a sudden you do say, you know what, this is getting to me. This is too much. What can I do? And you know, this is the answer. But you know, it's good to look into it before you get there. You know, before you need it. I hear people all the time, I ask them, how do you do your pill box? Well, I go in my bedroom, I shut off the TV, you know, I don't answer the telephone, and I sit there and I concentrate. You know?
Sunday mornings.
And that's what, you know,
Kitchen
most
table.
people, yeah, that's what most people do. They have their time that they do it, and, you know, as long as you have a system that works, you know.
Vacation, I was just thinking,
Oh,
I mean, we have to take a couple of those
yeah. That's
weekly things. We have
Yep.
extras in the closet for travel.
Yeah, that's,
Because we have to, if we're going for like 2 weeks.
yep.
So I'm saying that there, if someone's going going away for a few weeks, it's all done.
Even if someone's going away for a night. So these are all perforated, so you can just tear off one or two of them, which is nice. I used to work with a big agency, nursing agency out in Worcester, and they were psychiatric nurses that worked with the general population, but they only had, I want to say, there were 2 different units, and each one had about 50 individuals. Well, some of the individuals, they didn't want to give all their Clonopin, or they didn't want to give all their Seroquel. So what they used to do is they used to give it to them in a little manila envelope, and they would write their name on it, and they would go and meet with them on the basketball court, at the corner store, and here they are nurses, but still they're giving somebody that could have a little, been in a little trouble out in the general public, and they're giving them, Ativan with no marking, it's just, it has a manila envelope. So they switched over to this. We package it up, and now they could tear it off. It had the person's name on it. It had all the meds that were in there, because they would tell us a lot of times, they'd get in trouble with the police, and they'd have little envelopes in their pocket with drugs in them. So it is nice that it has your name on it. The other thing is too, we have especially out of Winchester, we have a lot of people that'll go to Florida for a month, 2, 3, 4 months. So all we do is before they go, we'll usually fill these early and just give them an extra month. We don't want to give them 3 months worth, because now you're talking, you have 12 cards, people will make mistakes. But then all we'll do is about a week before they're due, we'll mail out the next packs to them. We had somebody down in the Virgin Islands last year that we were mailing to. So we make sure to get the meds out before they run out. So, yeah.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions? No?
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to give us a call, stop by.
Do you have some cards?
I brought some brochures that just have like the address, and I'll just leave them. I'll leave them with you. There's just a handful.
I'll keep the contact information too.
Yeah. Yeah. If you guys have any questions, we can always send a pharmacist out too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great to have, so we can follow up.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you a million.
You said you do get your flu shots. You're good there, right?
Yes, there's our
Yeah.
Board of Health. We do
Okay.
a flu clinic with the Board of Health
Okay,
each year,
perfect.
so,
Yeah.
which will be Wednesday, November 7th,
I'm interested-
9:30 to 11.
I'm interested to see what the rate is this year. I think last year there was 17% effective.
Oh.
So hopefully
We
they-
hope that this will be a
hopefully
little
they-
bit more effective.
Well,
this
last year was an awful
That
year,
was a tough year.
Yes.
for the flu.
We just got the heavy dose. whatever
Yeah, the
it is.
65 and over.
Yeah, we
That's-
just got that last
It's
week.
much more readily available this year. Last year, that was a tough one to get, the 65
Well, our
and over.
doctor didn't have it, we had to go to a pharmacy to get it.
Yeah, so that's why we do flu clinics like we just did. Avita's one of our clients.
Mhm.
I saw some of their flyers.
Mhm.
So I think we have everybody up there.
Yeah, we were up to Danvers Clinic.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
a
yeah?
clinic right inside.
Yeah,
Yep.
so-
Yeah, that's, we have seasons over, we have a bunch of assisted livings, but we do one for seasons, we do them for Brightview and Danvers,
Oh, yeah.
so, but, all right. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, like I said, feel free to give us a call or stop by.
That would be great,
All right.
thank you.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much, and also just remembering in terms of safe disposal of prescriptions that we no longer need or use, even multivitamins, or as you said, over the counter. Our police department has a bin in their, the lobby of the police department. It's open 24 hours, 7 days a week. And you can just take in your expired prescriptions or prescriptions that you no longer need, and we can dispose of them safely that way too. So that's, in terms of medicine management, it's always good to know how do you get rid of things safely.
And this is the big DEA take back.
Yes.
This month, I think
Yeah.
it's the end of the month.
But, I mean, the nice thing is that the police, that's how this started, was when they did that once a
Yeah.
year, but now our police department does have that available on a daily basis for folks, so. So that's
It's
very
It's
good.
important to use. A lot of people don't like to use it because they're afraid that someday they may be put back on that med.
Yeah,
And I paid for it, so I want to keep it.
exactly.
But it's good to get it out of the house. I did a visit in Stoneham one time, and I think she was on 22 scripts.
Oh.
In 14 of them, there was a discrepancy between the strength, the doctor, the instructions, something. Because as I was saying earlier, all she did is when something was changed, the dose was changed, she just put it aside, and then eventually she started taking both strengths, or,
Oh.
so that's why it's important if you're not on it, I know you might have spent $5 or $10, but you're better off to get it out of the house.
They all have a shelf life.
Yeah.
They all do have a shelf life, yeah, for sure. I know legally, when you leave the pharmacy, it'll say like 1 year, but it could be longer, before it, expires, but they all say a year.
But I mean, again, the interactions with medications, you have to, even if it's the same medication, as Shawn's saying, it's a different strength, and it may interact in another way with, in an adverse way with something else that you subsequently are taking.
Right. And that's why too, when you do go to your doctor's appointments and they ask you what meds they're on, make sure to include your over-the-counters as well.
Exactly.
I mean, I have a list written down or something that you can let them know. Like I was saying earlier about the iron, had that patient told the doctor he was on iron, it could have been different.
Yeah.
So,
There's a lot of foods that people, I was surprised when I went on to, I'm not on anymore, but a thyroid medication.
Mm.
And I was in a market one time, and I was getting yogurt. And I don't know how the conversation came up, and the lady said, do you have a thyroid? I said, yeah, I'm on, she says you shouldn't be taking yogurt if you're on a thyroid pill.
Oh, really?
So I said, then somebody didn't know about being, what is it, grapefruit. You don't have grapefruit on,
Blood pressure meds.
so that there's, even that is something,
Yeah.
if there was a lot of things more clear about
Mhm.
what foods you shouldn't. I know with the Coumadin K, you
Mhm.
stay away from dark green leafy vegetables.
that's the easiest one, right?
Yeah.
But that's the problem when you pick up, especially when you pick up a new med from the pharmacy, you get like a 6-page book.
Right. Yeah.
And it's everything listed, and it's, you need something that's a little clear, a little easier to read. Tell me really the most important things,
Yeah.
It's, the best thing to do is talk to the pharmacist about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just ask them, and that way you can even jot it down yourself. But see, because it is so important.
Most of the pharmacists tell you the best time of the day to take it also.
Yeah.
That's important, yeah.
Yeah. So, that's why I noticed some labels now on other pharmacies do give you an idea when to take the pills, which is, it is important. With food, without food, because all the pharmacists is so busy, and sometimes you feel rushed. You feel rushed at your doctor's office, or you can't ask them questions. Then you get to the pharmacy and there's 10 people behind you, and they're trying to move the line through, and you just don't have the time to talk to somebody. So, but it's important, remember when you're there, ask them, that's their job.
Right.
So, don't get rushed through the line.
Well, thank you very
All
much.
right.
Shawn.
Yeah, you're very
That's
welcome.
great.
Thank you guys for
very
coming.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming out and
Yes.
talking with us.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you all for coming down. Thank you, Charlie.